Thank you very much, Sakshi. A very warm welcome to you, Ms. Pandey, for sparing time. A busy day as always, pre-budget and post-budget as well. But I guess the audience here, as well as those who are watching us, would want me to begin by asking you about that one big question that has been thrown at you several times since the budget was presented. The overall economic impact in growth terms of all the budget provisions put together, what is that number that you see? We have a senior economist Rumki Majumdar from Deloitte, and Deloitte seems to suggest that the benefit will be 0.3% in terms of GDP. There are others who are talking about much bigger numbers. What does the Finance Secretary have to say on this?
First of all, it's a non-inflationary budget. Fiscal deficit is well within what we had projected. The second, the Capex is maintained at pretty high level. Contrary to, we are looking at, if you look at only one number, which is the direct Capex. But you have to look at the indirect Capex, which is the Government of India money given in the form of grants to the states for asset creation, which is natural because a lot of assets they belong to the state governments and local governments. So therefore, essentially, when we give the money, it will be a revenue expenditure for us and capital actually in character. And so therefore, we are talking of about 15.48 lakh crore. That means about 15.5 lakh crore as Capex from the Government of India money. I'm not counting another 4.5 lakh crore, which is public sector will be doing from their own resources. So it's that of order, 19 to 20 lakh crores, government and public sector put together. State governments, Capex, from their own resources is on top of it. This is 17% growth over the RE. So therefore, there's a fair amount of growth on that. More importantly, if you really see the total borrowing is in the nature of 15.68 lakh crores. Out of that, 15.48 lakh crore is capital. So almost like 4.3% of the GDP is on the central money going in there, and we have 4.4% GDP as a fiscal deficit. So almost the entire fiscal deficit, that means borrowing, is going into Capex, which is actually normally a dream situation because we are not using that money for the revenue expenditure, but for building up capital assets, which have a long-term impact on growth. Third, we have also shed some money. Basically, we said 1 lakh crore, let us give it to the taxpayers. So it's like decision-making on that money has been transferred from the government to the taxpayers. And we believe that this would be a far more, in terms of growth, it will be a far more accommodative to the growth. It will spur the widespread growth because if it were the Government of India money, you will probably invest in certain investable goods, certain sectors. But when it goes to the taxpayers, the impact will be widespread. For example, textiles. Many people will choose to furnish their wardrobe, and government doesn't spend on textiles. Dining, travel, hardware industry. There will be myriad of things where the individuals will choose to spend. They may choose to save. That's fine too, because the banks are looking for deposits. They have to issue credit for which underlying deposits have to grow. They may also choose to directly invest in household investments, and we need household savings and household investments. So I think this particular thing, the multiplier will be a mix of consumption and investment multiplier, but it will be more widespread, and I think impact will be felt down the line. Another thing is it boosts the spirits. If middle class gets the money, the middle class also gets spirited. We are also trying to make the entrepreneurial spirit kept alive. In fact, we want them to accelerate. We want the private sector to invest more. We want their animal spirit to be rejuvenated. So there will be that extra demand for them, for their industry, in order for them to start investing. There are a number of measures in the budget relating to industry. Manufacturing, for example, electronics manufacturing, how will we do that? So we have adopted the supply chain concept, the plugging into global value chains. We are talking of global capability centers. We are talking of a lot of supply side measures on agriculture side. Some of the pain points for us, for our food inflation. Pulses, for example. Cotton, which is very important for our textile industry. A mission for cotton. We are also talking of 100 agri districts, Dhan Dhanya Yojana, and trying to address that issue in terms of plugging the productivity gaps. We have a manufacturing mission there. We have things for shipbuilding. We have things for leather, toys, labor-intensive sectors. And our provisions on the Part B, which is the taxation side, are fully consistent and are in sync with our Part A, which is the policy. For the first time, we have moved taxation reforms into Part A. We always used to talk in terms of Part B. This is an essential part of that. And in taxation, we have moved ahead for direct taxes. We have done a lot for the indirect taxes too. And we will also continue this spirit in the GST Council for further work which is being undertaken there under the group of ministers for GST rate rationalization.
Mr. Pandey, considering all these numbers and the amount of cumulative capex that you are talking about, is the economic survey being far too conservative in proposing just 6.8% as the growth target at the upper end?
I would not say that, because I think there are downsides too. As I said, that we have got a difficult situation. And I think our exports and imports, which are impacted from some of the policies which are extraneous to us, the geopolitically, geo-economic fragmentation, those will also have an impact. There's a possible impact there. So we do not have a very salubrious economic environment, global environment. Global trade, global growth, they also impact us. Even to maintain 6.5% growth is not easy in this daunting environment. So therefore, even to maintain it, we must take a lot of structural measures, a lot of regulatory measures, a lot of measures to speed up logistics, a lot of measures to remove pain points, also, reduce transaction costs. So all of that needs to be done irrespective of Of course, they also are strong foundations for accelerating growth.
Mr. Pandey, what can we expect of the GST reforms or changes that are likely? You mentioned the group of ministers.
Well, I can't really say what will be there, but there is a realization that there is need for rationalization going forward. We have now a lot of experience on the GST, and let me say, it is a very enormously important institutions which has been built. The states and the center have come together, pooled their sovereignty, brought up a thing, absolutely paperless environment, database running, and constant improvements. A lot of problems in GST, pain points have been slowly been removed, are being removed. And then, of course, there is an issue of revenues, state revenues as well as central revenues. So a balanced view will have to be taken by the group of ministers. And I think they are seized of the matter, and we will carry that work forward.
We also have Ashwini Vaishnavji here with us. So one final question to you, Mr. Pandey. A lot of concern being expressed about the rupee. Post what happened in the United States, a sharp 57 paisa depreciation. Should we be concerned about the depreciation of the Indian currency?
I think fundamentally what is of concern is the threat to global growth and trade, because there every nation gets affected. So we also get reminded of the 1929 depression, when a lot of protectionism led to pauperization of everyone. So therefore, we do have certain experience which is not very favorable for, a growth which is the trade barriers. Be that as it may, India will be in a position to protect its national interests in the way we have. We have a lot of domestic things to do, and we have a lot of domestic reliance. But we are not getting into any protectionist mold. If you would see the budget proposals, our tariff on industrial goods, out of 8,000 tariff lines, about 6,000 tariff lines, we are less than 10%. Our average tariff rate is 10.6%, close to ASEAN. So we are not really looking at, because we understand that we have consumers and we have economic competitiveness of an industry to watch for. So I would say that, we are concerned about the fact that the protectionism will lead to deceleration in global growth and trade, but then we have to be prepared for the situation that's emerging.
Under your charge, I'm sure all the bureaucrats in the finance ministry will remain prepared and very vigilant and watchful. Mr. Pandey, thank you very much for your time with us today. A warm round of applause for the finance secretary, who also has the revenue portfolio with him. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Government initiatives, policy frameworks in India's roadmap for AI adoption, balancing innovation and ethical considerations. We have with us a very special guest, Mr. Ashwini Vaishnaw, Minister of Railways, Information